Yes, Assembly Member Garbett, English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill.
Thanks for your question. While I don't have any powers to directly regulate private renting, I have been doing everything within my power to improve renting and the enforcement of renters' rights in London. There is no doubt that too many renters in London face high costs and poor conditions. That's why my online private renting tools and checkers support Londoners' renters to make more informed choices about who they rent from and hold their landlords to account. This includes sharing information on landlords who have been fined or prosecuted for a housing-related offence, identifying which homes need a property licence, and making it easy for Londoners to report a concern about a private landlord or property directly to the correct council enforcement team. These tools support councils to improve their enforcement work so that more rented homes are made safe and decent. I very much welcomed the measures set out in the English Devolution White Paper, which agreed to devolve selective licensing powers to London, giving councils new powers to regulate the private rented sector in consultation with City Hall. Selective licensing is one of the best tools councils have to improve conditions and standards in their local private rented sector. I've long been calling for this, and my team is already working with boroughs to give them additional support to develop and implement new schemes. The Renters' Rights Bill contains many of the measures I set out in my London model for tenancy reform in 2019, including ending Section 21, introducing open-ended tenancies, longer notice periods, and a landlord register, the PRS database, and reforming possession grounds. It will deliver much-needed security and stability for renters after years of delay by the previous government. With sufficient funding, it will enable boroughs to increase their enforcement work so that more of London's rented homes are safe and decent. It also contains measures to enable renters to challenge unfair rent hikes. On top of this, I welcome the government's continued commitment to empowering mayors through the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill. Working with the government, I have ambitious plans to boost London's growth potential through its measures and have been urging the government to go further still in London, with new powers to streamline the planning process and on the licensing of short-term lets. I look forward to working with the government and helping them change the experience of renting for Londoners.
Thank you. So we all know that we're well past the need, we need urgent action on renting in London. People face the prospect of 20-30% increase and maybe made homeless. Last year when we spoke after my rent commission, you said you'd be pushing the government for powers to cap rents, and you just said then that you don't have the powers, but the devolution bill includes provision for mayors to request powers from the government. So will you be requesting powers to cap rent increases?
Yeah, that's your question. So one of the things that I've been lobbying the government for up until getting this power is for them to devolve to different parts of the country the ability to have rent control. So look, Greater Manchester may decide not to, right, for reasons that the may decide. That's hypothetical, by the way. I don't know what the decision is, but I would want to. And so we're going to carry on in relation to prior to the bill becoming an act of Parliament lobbying for that. But she's right. The right to request is something that we find really interesting. The process is a bit clunky. I can make a request directly to MHGLG. More likely to get the right to request responded to if we can get agreement from all the metro mayors across the country. So we'll work through different tactics and strategy, but I can assure her this is one of the things at the top of my list to request from the government in terms of stuff that we should be getting devolved to from the centre outwards.
So capping rents would be on the top of your list for powers to get devolved?
One of the things is I've got a long list.
Yes. So what specific conversations have you had with government about that?
To devolve to regions like, because should we the experience in Edinburgh, the Scottish Government has got devolution of some of this stuff. I'm paraphrasing. Why can't we have what Edinburgh's got is the sort of context of the conversations we've had. I can understand, by the way, that for argument's sake, Burnley is different from Bermondsey. Right, so I'm not saying Burnley has rent control or rent caps, but what I'm saying is that by giving regions the ability to do so, we can decide if we want to do so or not. In London, clearly, I'd want to do so.
So how confident are you that you would be able to get that from those discussions?
Listen, I'm not breaching confidence if the government is not keen on this. We're going to carry on trying. There have been other examples where, much as the previous government, this current government's not been keen, we've managed to change their minds. And we're going to carry on, in terms of working with the government on things that are being devolved, which will really improve the rights of renters in London, the experience of Londoners, the conditions of the premises. So we're going to make sure we action that. At the same time, thinking about what more we can do to, address the fact, with the best in the world, in the short to medium term, we're not going to get the supply of housing to meet the needs of those renting privately.
So, and just in terms of the bill going through, there's currently an amendment tabled to give the Secretary of State powers to introduce rent caps, which you could then request. So this is a real opportunity to finally get those devolved. So I just wondered if you'd support that amendment publicly.
I'm not sure of any confidence in her getting 326 MPs to support that amendment and stuff. So look, I'll use what little experience I have to try and make sure we can get what we can from the government using whatever tools are available. I think that amendment's not going to pass. But
I do think it might.
Discussion. Assembly members raised serious concerns about housing conditions, tenant protections, and the effectiveness of current regulations across London. Questions were asked about whether local authorities and the mayor's office have enough powers to properly control problems within the private rental sector, including poor housing standards, irresponsible landlords, and the misuse of affordable homes. In response, the mayor explained that although some important powers still remain under the control of the national government, efforts are being made to improve support and protection for renters throughout the city. He highlighted that several online tools and public resources have already been introduced to help tenants make informed decisions before renting properties. These tools also allow residents to check whether landlords have previously faced penalties or enforcement action, helping increase transparency and accountability within the housing market. The
A bit of
conversation...
momentum if you put your support behind it like you did with the welfare cuts.
Thanks for the advice. I'm always receptive to advice from friends or foe. Advice noted.
Yeah, if you'd consider supporting that, I think it'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Assembly Member Mahfouz.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Mr. Mayor. So you talked about the selective licensing scheme and the change that's going to come about through what the government is proposing, moving the power to sign off from the Secretary of State to yourself, which is very welcome. And those selective licensing schemes are making sure that we are raising the bar in terms of what quality of properties should look like across the capital, which is good to see. As part of the work that we did on the Oversight Committee, talking to other global cities about some of the challenges they had in terms of housing and renting in particular, and we've seen that actually this is the number one issue that Londoners want you to be able to deal with in terms of the survey that we conducted. I spoke to representatives from New York, and they talked about the challenges they had in terms of proliferation of Airbnb properties. Now, of course, one of the challenges we can see is that normal rented properties get flipped for more income and bypassing the selective licensing scheme by being turned into an Airbnb. Would you support the extension of the selective licensing scheme to include properties that come under Airbnbs?
Look, I thank him and the committee for the work they've been doing. So we've got experience of what happens in other cities in relation to. There are other companies as well as Airbnb. Let's not just pick on Airbnb. They're actually very good compared to some of the others. They're very good, full stop, by the way. Is not just in relation to the difference selective licence can make in terms of quality and condition of property, the experience of the tenant. And include the good landlords welcome it as well, but also some of the loopholes that exist in other cities as well. One of the reasons why deliberately my answer mentioned short-term lets is because he knows from his experience in Ealing Council, the difficulty in councils enforcing, inverted commas, the 90-day rule. And so what we want to do is to make that easier, more transparent, and that will avoid the abuse he's talking about.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Assembly Member Boff.
Mr. Mayor, in your approach to private rents, will you be taking any advice from Jazz Athwell MP?
So it's really important to ensure that Parliament gives us the powers we want. My understanding is that there are lots of slum landlords that the Conservatives are responsible for, lots of landlords in the Conservative Parliamentary Party, and their expertise
are
is
you
valued as
saying
well.
that Jazz Athwell was a slum landlord, Mr. Mayor?
And their experiences, it will, I'm sure, be heard when the debates take part in Parliament.
Are you stating that Jazz Athwell was a slum landlord, Mr. Mayor? Because that's what you've just said.
I'm quite clear the Conservative Party has many, many landlords in the Parliamentary Party.
Do you just use the term slum landlord as a comparison? Are you saying Jazz Athwell is a slum landlord?
They will take part in the debate. They'll take part in the committee stage. They'll take part in the legislation passing. It's really important to recognise that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, will you be paying particular attention to how much affordable housing programme money has been used to build those homes that have been the hundreds of homes that have been fraudulently let by Barking and Dagenham Council?
Sorry, Chair, I'm not sure what the member's referring to.
The police investigation is currently underway because hundreds of homes have been fraudulently let. The responsibility of Barking and Dagenham Council, and some of those homes may very well have been funded by the Affordable Housing Programme. Will you acquaint yourself with how much of the money of the Affordable Housing Programme has gone into fraudulently let properties?
Well, I'm sure the member will be aware that it would be unwise for me to comment on a live investigation.
I'm asking you to acquaint yourself with the figures.
Well, why don't we wait and see how the investigation goes before we start commenting on it?
So you're not going to do that? Thank you.
The conversation then moved toward the wider issue of reforms proposed under the government's devolution and renters' rights plans. It was explained that new measures could provide councils with stronger authority to improve standards in privately rented homes and increase enforcement against landlords who fail to meet legal requirements. Members also discussed proposed changes, such as ending no-fault evictions, introducing more secure tenancy agreements, and creating systems that would make it easier to track landlords and property conditions. According to the mayor, these reforms could provide greater security and stability for renters, especially for families who struggle with rising housing costs and uncertainty in the rental market. Another major topic was the growing concern around short-term rental properties, including homes being used for holiday-style accommodation through online platforms. Members argued that some properties intended for long-term residents are instead being used